Hi folks, what I'm trying to put together here is a few hints, tips and ideas on creating videos mostly for YouTube or for putting on Facebook or just for sharing amongst friends with a similar hobby. This comes about because I'm part of a group on Facebook which is trying to promote YouTube videos amongst our angling and fishing friends. Now, I keep seeing comments on the actual Facebook page about how do I do this, how do I do that, how do I do such. Now, I'm going to say straight out, I'm not an expert cameraman, I'm not an expert video editor. In fact, I've always believed that an expert is defined as X is something that has been and a spurt is a drip under pressure. What I'm going to do is put forward what I've found out, things I've discovered, and a few ideas. Now, some of you are going to say, well, that's pretty obvious. Who doesn't know that? Well, anything is obvious to the person who's been doing it for a long while. In my job, I would do something and think, what sort of idiot can't do that and doesn't know that? Till you stop and think, because you're good at it doesn't mean everybody else knows it. Now, I'm sure there's people going to watch this and think, there's a better way of doing that, or that's the wrong way. Well, great, stick your ideas and your input in the comments, let's share, and we'll all get a bit better and we'll all learn something. So I'm going to start off with part one, basically about taking the pictures, using the camera, transferring stuff from your camera or phone to actually a computer, which a lot of people are unsure how to do. And then I'm going to do a tutorial on the video editing software that I use, which is free software off the internet. And like a lot of this software, there's no real instructions or manual how to use it. It's very much download the software, work it out as you go along. The software people don't provide instructions, they leave it up to a community instruction thing. So you go on the help pages, and unless somebody else has had the same issue that you're having, there's no information on there how to do it. I will try and go through the basics, how to edit, how to slice, how to remove unwanted audio, how to add titles, how to do transitions, and a few of my ideas. Hope this helps people. Here we go. The camera I've been using is a fairly reasonable, it's a Lumix, Panasonic Lumix. I've had it for donkey's years. It's a 14 megapixel, does still shots, does video, etc, etc. Takes an SD card. I've got a 32 gigabyte SD card which goes into it. That gives you a couple of 3 hours at least of recording time. First thing you've got to think about though is when you go to take a video, make sure the camera battery is charged up, that you don't suddenly run out of battery part way through filming, and make sure you've got space left on the SD card for the amount of stuff you're going to do. Next thing we'll talk about is tripods. You do not need to go and buy an expensive so-called pro tripod. You need something that's going to take a lightweight camera or a lightweight phone. If you're using your phone on a tripod, get yourself something like that. Very simple, very inexpensive, which will mount any size of phone. This is quite a nice one because you can adjust all the angles and all that on it to mount the phone on the tripod. That simply goes on the tripod like that, on where the camera mount is, and then the phone clamps onto it. Can't really show you this because I'm recording this on the phone, so I can show you the camera. I would never buy a new tripod. If you go around car boot sales, flea markets, charity shops, for some strange reason nobody seems to apply any value to a tripod. This is one that we actually sell in the shop, and you get it for 20 quid with the tripod and the mounting and some other bits and pieces, brand new. I've bought tripods at boot sales for a couple of quid, and this is for a tripod. It would be 50 or 60 quid to go and buy new. Can't work it out. Nobody seems to attract any value to them, and you can pick one up for pennies. Benefit of a tripod very often, even if you're going to carry the phone or a camera, trying to hold the camera like this and get a nice steady picture is hard work, especially if you're trying to hold it out at the correct height, because it becomes very tiring on the arm after you've held it for a few minutes. The thing with using a camera on a tripod is you put it on the tripod, you then hold it like this. Now what happens is the weight of the tripod helps to stabilise the camera. It's also easier. You can tuck your elbow in against your waist and just holding it on your arm. That gives you a much easier, more control, more balance on the actual camera, and the thing gives you a more stable picture. And it's also less wear and tear on your arm and your shoulder holding it. It also means if you want to take one of these pictures where you're seen walking along or walking towards it, you can simply put it down on the ground on the tripod and pick it up. Very worthwhile investment. Two things to really keep in mind is if you're going to use a phone, hold it that way, not that way. When you hold the phone that way in portrait mode, most people are going to be viewing this video on a wide screen, either on a phone or a television or a tablet. When you take the pictures that way up, you end up with a vertical letterbox picture, which gives you a big black gap either side of the picture. You need to hold it in landscape, so you're taking it in what they call the same aspect ratio as people are going to view it. The same with your camera, you need to set the camera to widescreen. Most cameras you can set them for ordinary pictures, portrait, landscape, but if you don't set it to VGA widescreen in the settings, again you'll get this border at either side of the widescreen picture on your TV or whatever it's being filmed on. Right, having now taken your photos, taken your video, either on a phone or on a camera, you need to put them on your computer. Now, if it's on your phone, you need a charging lead with a USB and a lead for your phone. Most phones come with this nowadays because they're too tight to give you a charger, so all you get is a USB cable. You plug it into the USB socket on your computer, and what will come up is something like that, which is internal storage. If that doesn't come up, you go to your documents folder at the bottom here. It will then come up. It will look for my phone. Mine's a Galaxy A51. You click on that. You then get the internal storage. You click on that. You're now looking for DCIM, which is your digital camera interface. Click on that. You now look for camera, and that will open all the pictures on your camera. Now, I like to keep all the video clips and photos for a single video in a separate folder, so it's all very easy to find. So you create a separate folder on your desktop. This is simply done by placing the mouse cursor anywhere on the desktop you like and right clicking the mouse. You then open up this menu and you're looking for the word new. You click on new and then you click on folder. You then get a new folder. You can then call it what you like. Let's call this making a video. Type in making a video. You've now got your folder. You now look at what you have on here and that you want to use for your video, and to transfer from here to your folder, simply take the picture so it highlights, depress the left mouse button and hold it, and then drag it across to the folder. Make sure it says that it's going into that folder. Release the mouse button, it will go in. Look for your video you want to take again. Depress and hold the left mouse button, drag it across, put it into the folder. It's now in there. If you're doing it off a camera, you either have a lead to connect your camera to the computer, which does it, or you take the SD card out of the camera and put that into an SD slot on your computer. If your computer doesn't have an SD card slot, you can buy a card reader which plugs into the USB. £5 something like that. They're so cheap, although many computers, especially desktops, will have a card reader in, although these functions are getting less and less to try and sell your gadgets. A little tip, when you put an SD card into the card reader slot of other computers, you'll get a little thing comes up in the top corner here saying, there's a fault with this drive, do you want to scan and correct it? just ignore it. It's a load of rubbish. Almost every SD card I use, my computer tells me there's a fault with it, and I just click on the little cross to get rid of it. Open the SD card exactly the same way here. You go to the thing that says sort of documents, close that, you go to the thing that here, it says a little documents folder. You've got all the stuff. There's my Galaxy phone, the main drive, my DVD, my backup drive. You open it, look for what you want, transfer the stuff across. Now that is the main thing. You now have a folder on your computer with all the bits and pieces for creating the video. So we're going to do part 1 here, and part 2 will be the second video in this series, which will show you how to use the editing software I use, which is OpenShot, which is very easy, very simple and totally free. You can buy a premium version of OpenShot. There is nothing in it you really need or have a proper use for, so why buy something you don't need? Keep it simple.